you are allowed to feel sad about something, but know it was the right thing for you. Two things can be true at the same time. This person disappointed me, so they're a terrible person. I'm protecting from feeling a negative emotion, maybe sad that they're not going to be in my life anymore, or maybe I don't really want to be with them anymore. Ooh, that's going to make me feel really guilty. Let me make them an even worse person. Yeah, black and white, right or wrong, good or bad. I'm not comfortable sitting in the gray. And this is what we do, because in the uncomfy gray, I don't know what's going to happen. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Life Coach Meg Ellis, and today we are talking about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Except for finding out that there's multiple versions of the truth. Yes, we are here to talk about two things being true at the same time. Did you know that? Did you know two things can be true at the same time? Well, today we are going to talk about this idea of duality, right versus wrong, and we're actually going to debunk it. And we're going to talk about how it actually goes back to your ego. I'm going to talk about a common cognitive distortion that attributes to anxiety, depression, and perfectionism. And I'm actually going to show you how two things can be true at the same time. And I'm going to give you an applicable tip to use in the times in your life where duality is holding you back, because it does. So let's talk about duality first, because it is an illusion. And it holds you back. So let's talk about what is duality. It refers to having two parts, often with opposite meanings, like the duality of good and evil. If there are two sides to a coin, metaphorically speaking, of course, there's duality, peace and war, love, hate, up, down, black, white. So we're going to say, where do you see this duality pop up in your life? And a lot of times if we have a situation that we're uncertain about, or if something unexpected happened or something big happened, we say, oh my God, is this good or is this bad? This is good. This is bad. And we assign different truths to things. And a couple of months back, I did a podcast episode on the power of maybe. So I'm actually going to tag that in the show notes. So if you missed that one, definitely go back to that. I'm not going to go too much into the power of maybe, but it does play a role in debunking duality. So I'm going to ask any millennials out there, anybody just thrive to Lisa Frank in the 90s? Because I'm going to bring up something from our childhood. You probably had a keychain or a notebook that had this symbol on it, and it was the yin yang symbol. Remember that was like real big with like peace signs and all the things? Yeah. Anytime I see a yin yang, I always just think of my childhood because, the stickers are everywhere. You'd go to Pizza Hut and go to the little coin machines and get all these like stickers out. It'd be like a peace sign or a unicorn or a yin yang sign. And I never knew what that symbol meant. And then later in life, I learned that it's this representation of like good versus bad, right? Good versus evil. And it's a circle, if you've never seen one before. It's a circle, and about half of it is white, and the other half of it is black. But in the white section, there's a little tiny black dot. And then in the black section, there's a little tiny white dot. And what that actually means is, yes, it's good and bad, right? That duality. And if duality was a thing, it would just be black and white. But there's a little bit of the black in the white. Means there's a little bit of evil or the bad in the good. And on the flip side, there's a little bit of the good, the white, in the black, in the bad. And that just kind of goes to show that perspective plays a big role in how we see the world, how we live in the world. And it's not just good or bad. And I'm going to use this example that I learned in my NLP training. So I'm an NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, which basically means we see how your words and your thoughts affect each other, and we can kind of manipulate them to allow life to work out for us. In short, that's the simplest way I could put it. But there's this example that I absolutely loved, and I wanted to share it with you today that breaks down this idea of duality. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it black? Is it white? So I want you to imagine you are at your favorite outdoor coffee shop, in a cafe outside. Where is it? Just paint yourself this picture here. And you are with your absolute best friend. So grab your friend, you're sitting outside at this coffee shop, and I want you to imagine a dog running up to the table. It could be any dog that you imagine, does not matter. So imagine a dog running up to the table. And you had 3 dogs growing up. You love dogs. You love pets. They're so cute. This is a fluffy one. Oh my gosh. He's running up to the table. He's like, his tongue's hanging out. He's just like happy. You can tell he's smiling. And you love dogs. So what do? Well, I reach down. If I love dogs, I'm going to pet the dog and say, oh my God, good boy. Oh my God, he's so cute. But then you look at your friend and she's literally standing on her chair, petrified. She is screaming, crying, so afraid of this dog. And the dog's like, huh? But she got bit by a dog when she was 8. And she even got a big scar on her face from it. And she's terrified of dogs. So her reaction is really different than yours. And so I'm going to look at the situation and ask you, if both of you left the coffee date and went back to your wherever you came from, and you're talking to your partner, your spouse, or your friend, and you're saying, oh, how was coffee with a friend? You two would have really different stories based off of your experience with the dog. Oh my God, coffee was awful. There was this crazy big dog and it ran up to me and oh my God, it almost bit me. It was so scary. And then your story would be, oh, it was great. This really cute dog came up. It was wonderful. My friend acted a little weird there for a second, but I think she got over it. I'm not really sure. Which version is true? They both are true. 2 things can be true at the same time. There's no such thing as duality. It is an illusion. So it's not black and white. It is all the gray in between. And when you get into how we all see the world, there's so much gray, but there's also so much thriving and so much living, so much love and so much acceptance in the gray when you stop thinking things are good or bad or right or wrong. So let's just take this situation with the dog. Why did 2 people react differently to the same external event? The same external event happens. Right? It's not just, a dog running up to the table. Take it as somebody got hired in a role that you wanted. Or maybe you're going through a relationship change where you're no longer with the partner that you've been with for a long time. Right? So just insert whatever big life thing is happening for you right now and imagine that to be the dog, right? That's the external event is happening. Okay, so the external event happens. And how we filter information goes through our brains, and we actually generalize, distort, and delete 99.99999% of the information. We compute less than 1% that is out there. And then even the information that goes through, we still distort that based off of our values and our beliefs and our memories. All of that just changes the way we actually take in that information. And all of those things happening creates what our internal representation is, right? We take, oh my God, I love dogs. Dogs are great. Or, ooh, dogs are scary. I don't like dogs. And we process that all, and then a behavior comes out. I'm either reaching down to pet the dog or I'm running away from the dog. Okay? So you can see how 2 things can be true at the same time for different people. It's not black and white. So a lot of times when we communicate with the people we love, we go in with this duality of I have to be right, they have to be wrong. And I'm telling you, your communication with other people will improve when you ditch the idea of duality. You can be right, but they can also be right too. Because newsflash, we assign truth to things based off of what has happened to us in the past. So I assigned that the dog is friendly. My friend, she assigned truth to the dog being really scary. We assign truth to things There's absolutely no universal truth out there that doesn't go through some type of filter of the way we see information. So, where this gets dangerous, though, now it's not me versus my friend, but it can actually be multiple things within my own frame of reference. Okay, so this is called all or nothing thinking. And this is actually a cognitive distortion. So it's a trick that your mind actually plays on you. Because this now it's not me and my friend, it's just me within myself. Okay. This is what is linked to perfectionism, anxiety, and depression. So let's talk about all or nothing thinking. When you have this idea of duality, this or that, how does it affect you? All or nothing thinking, also known as black and white thinking, is a cognitive distortion that causes people to think in extremes and not consider the middle ground. So you can see how this would definitely affect your relationships, but think of everything that goes on in your own mind too. This is when we overthink. A lot of times our mind goes to the extreme, and a lot of times it doesn't exist. But anyway, that's another podcast. People who think in all or nothing thinking may view things as either perfect or flawed, and they may not be able to accept the possibility that something could be in between. This could lead to rigid thinking patterns that can negatively impact a person's emotions, behaviors, and well-being. All or nothing thinking can also lead to anxiety or pessimism. So let's talk about some examples and see if you relate to any of them. 1, a single mistake ruins the entire project. Now, this episode is really for Enneagram 1s, but Enneagram 6s too. Really, but a lot of us struggle with perfectionism. A single mistake ruins the entire project. Oof, I can't get over that one mistake. I had the perfect slide deck and there was a typo in it. It was terrible. This person disappointed me, and therefore they are an awful person. Anything less than a perfect score is a failure. Ooh, forgetting someone's birthday means that you are a terrible person and very thoughtless. These are all these extremes, right? And these are just some examples. So just start to think of where is all or nothing thinking creeping into my day? And the solution here, because I think we know what the problem is, it's these extremes. They're causing us to overthink. They're causing us to go into a negative energetic state. Oh my God, that one typo. We're just going to start to look for the gray, right? Black and white is killing us. Black and white. It's not black and white. It has to be this or that, right or wrong. You're going to just start to look for the middle ground. Look for the gray, because there's, again, so much beauty in the gray. Rather than seeing things on a scale of 1 to 0, start seeing things on a scale of 0 to 100. Okay. Well, I did have a typo in my 50 slide presentation, but I don't think anyone noticed, and the rest of the 49 slides were perfect. Quote unquote perfect. So we're starting to look for the gray. So let's kind of like break this down, right? The cognitive distortion, this all or nothing thinking, this black and white thinking, the duality of good or bad. Let's talk about going on a date. Oh my God, it was so awkward on the date and the whole thing went terribly. Right? Good or bad? Okay. So a lot of times I coach to create the opposite story. Is there an opposite story? To fight negativity, I'm going to throw on some positivity with it, but I'm not even going to actually ask you to create the positive story, because that's just going from black to white, right? I just want you to create a gray story. So create a less awful story. That's it. Not even good, just less awful. Just dial it back a little bit. So we're going to change, I felt so awkward and the date went terribly. That's the duality of it. It went bad, all or nothing thinking, terrible, one moment. So create a less terrible story. I was awkward during that one question that they asked me on the date, but overall, the rest of the date went really good. We're going to break down duality because at the end of the day, duality does not work because you ultimately don't believe it and you are unable to lie to yourself. Duality is the ego talking, and it pops in to make you feel better, and it's fake. Oh, the date went terribly. If I say that, I am trying to convince myself of the date going terribly because essentially I want to alleviate any disappointment if they don't call me back. I'm protecting myself from feeling disappointed later. So I fear it and I don't want it, so I'm going to protect myself from it. Oh, the date went terribly. Or, this person disappointed me, so they're a terrible person. Well, now I'm protecting from feeling a negative emotion. What, maybe sad that they're not going to be in my life anymore, or sad that they disappointed me, or maybe I even feel guilty about what I have decided to do with this person disappointed me, right? You know what? This person disappointed me for the last time. I don't really want to be with them anymore. Ooh, that's going to make me feel really guilty. Let me make them an even worse person. Yeah, black and white, right or wrong, good or bad. I'm not comfortable sitting in the gray, so let me just move it to the black. Ooh, this is bad. And this is what we do, and I'm guilty of it too. If I am having a disagreement with somebody, my mind automatically starts to, I'm not comfortable in this gray area. It's like, well, I don't know, like, why would they do that to me? They said they were my friend, but they're not really treating me like the friendship that I deserve, like not really treating me like a friend. And that's gray, and it's uncomfy because in the uncomfy gray, I don't know what's going to happen. My feelings might get hurt. Wait a minute, let me protect myself. Let me actually, you know what? They did this to me that one time. Yeah, you know what? They are a bad person. And then they did this to me. Yeah, they're really crappy. I don't deserve to be treated like this. And you start kind of walking back down the fence to either black or white thinking, right? They're a terrible person because we think that's going to make us feel better. That is not going to make you feel better. Let me save you the time and just go back to the gray. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing thinking. That is your ego trying to protect you from negative emotions. But guess what? You're actually creating your own negative emotions and you're sitting in them. So get out of it. Get out of the black and the white, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, and get into the gray. We got to ask yourself this. This is the question. There's 2 questions you're going to ask yourself if you are catching yourself in all or nothing thinking. 1, am I willing to see this differently? And guess what? Sometimes that answer is going to be no, because your ego's is going to be flared up trying to protect you from hurt feelings, and it's going to say black or white, right or wrong, good or bad. And it's going to keep you in that dualistic mentality. And so the answer might be no. And then you're going to say, no, I'm not willing to see this differently. I'm going to sit in my stubbornness just for a second. Okay. Well, can you revisit it the next day? Hey, am I willing to see this differently? And it is okay if you say no a couple days in a row. There's nothing wrong with that. It is okay. You want to be honest with yourself because, again, we have to stop lying to ourselves. We just do. We don't ultimately believe it. Our essence does not believe the lies that our ego feeds us, which is why it doesn't feel good. So we have to tap into our essence and be honest with ourselves. Okay, am I willing to see this differently? No, but I'm going to come back later. I am willing to do that. So the next day, the next day, the next day, at some point you say, you know what? Am I willing to see this differently? Yeah, I am. Great. Even asking the question is consciousness, it's awareness, it's waking up, and it's shifting your thoughts to be less extreme. So you're going to ask yourself, am I willing? And when you get to the yes, then the second step is, I'm going to shift. Okay, what does the shift look like? Am I willing? And can I shift? Okay, what does the shift look like? How can I shift to make this less extreme? Okay, am I willing to entertain this gray area? Okay, what would that look like? What is the less bad version or the less extreme version? Well, the date, it was good. There was that one awkward silence. Okay, you're gonna maybe start to say that in your head. Okay, the date was good, but there was that one awkward silence. If you use this word but, your brain is going to compute that right back to the good versus the bad, the dualistic mentality. Because the word but is destroying you. So we're not going to use it anymore. Because the word but actually negates everything that came before it. The date was good, but there was that one awkward silence. So the date was good gets eliminated, and all my brain actually computes is there was that one awkward silence. There was that one awkward silence. There was that one awkward silence. And I'm going to overthink it because that's what our brains do. And automatically, I'm just going to think, oh, the date was bad. I started in the gray. I started to entertain it. I was willing to shift, and I shifted my thought, and I said, okay, here's a little gray thought. But I use the word but. So then my brain goes back to that good versus the bad thought. So instead of using words like but or, right? Those words kind of limit us. We're going to use a word because words are important, right? This is why I'm an NLP practitioner. Your linguistics are important. We're going to use words like and because and supports the gray. The date was good, and there was that one awkward silence. You can even flip it if you want. There was that one awkward silence, and the date was good. You see how that allows for the gray? It allows for both. Two things can be true at the same time. There was that one awkward silence, and the date was good. That is truth. You have to assign the truth. What do you want to be true? Are you assigning truth to things that you don't necessarily like because you're trying to protect yourself from feeling kind of a little wonky in the gray? I don't know what's going to happen in the gray. So our ego, like I said, tries to push us to the black and the white because it's safer there. It thinks it's safer there. And it tells you these lies. It's either good or bad. You can feel two things at the same time. It's just a matter of what you are assigning truth to. The dog was friendly and scary at the same time. You are allowed to feel sad about something, but know it was the right thing for you at the same time. You can be mad at someone and love them at the same time. You can be right in the argument, but the other person can too. You just have to allow for these perspective changes, and you have to also know that not everybody is going to see things the same way. And you might not even see things the same way when you go through these emotional times in your life, these big moments. One day you might feel sad, the next day you might feel happy. And that's okay, right? You can go through something sad and allow yourself to have moments of happiness. That's okay. Two things can be true at the same time. I can be sad and I can be happy at the same time. And that is okay because life happens in the gray. Because duality is an illusion. It is a lie that your ego is feeding you because it wants to protect you and keep you safe. But nothing good happens on that dualistic extremes. So we're going to learn how to go into the gray. Just being willing to go into the gray and then shift into a less extreme version of the story is going to help you. It's going to help you sort through your emotions. It's going to help you break away from being a perfectionist. It's going to help you allow all of your feelings at the same time because guess what? We're human beings and sometimes we have more than one feeling at the same time. And that's okay because two things can be true at once. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, definitely subscribe. I post content like this all the time. And if you love this episode, I know you are going to love my online life coaching community. It has tons of stuff. It actually has exclusive podcast episodes just for the community. So where we dive just a little bit deeper, and there's actually some podcast episodes, some great podcast episodes on there with all of my Phoenix 8 coaches. So definitely check those out. There's coaching resources, there's meditation, there's Enneagram resources. There is a link in the show notes for you to grab your special offer. So definitely check that out and send this episode to a friend, because I really do think that this episode could help so many people. I love when you guys share episodes. It literally lights my soul up when I see the little story notification that y'all shared it on social media. So thank you. It allows me to grow. It allows the show to grow. It allows us all to grow. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. Of course, I'm going to leave you with one thing. It's going to be this: expect good things always, and they will happen.